Good morning, everyone, and welcome back to a best-of-3 series of professional StarCraft 2. Today it's time for a Terran versus Protoss. We're in game number 1. I believe we are on 2,000 atmospheres. Probably should have checked that. I've been hiding the UI, you know. Where are we? Yeah, it looks like 2,000 atmospheres to me. Anyways, top right-hand corner, playing here with the red Terran SCVs. From France, we have none other than Clem. And his opponent in the opposite corner with the blue Protoss probes. From Denmark, we are looking at MaxPax's main Nexus. I actually quite like this intro, you know, where I like kind of hide the UI and stuff. It looks a little bit more cinematic. Maybe I need to add like black bars to the screen as well. How dramatic does that look? Actually, I probably need... How dramatic does that look? Pretty good, right? Anyways, these two, they've been facing off against each other quite a bit this year so far. I just looked it up. So in 2022 so far, these two have played 33 tournament maps against each other. Obviously, they will probably, well, they will probably be facing off against each other frequently on the ladder as well. Kind of depends on the time of the day. In case you're unfamiliar, Clem doesn't really wake up until the late afternoon over in France, even though they do share a time zone. I don't know exactly when MaxPax is usually up, but I know that Clem is quite well known to live the proper pro gamer life, where you don't actually wake up until like 4 in the afternoon and you play until like, you know, 7 in the morning. I don't know exactly where it's currently at, but he's basically perpetually jet-lagged in his own home. Either way, in those 33 tournament maps that they have played so far, not including this series, I almost spoiled myself, but luckily I scrolled down just fast enough. Clem has won 75% of the maps. Now, there's no denying that MaxPax has been rapidly improving over the last year or so. So, in case you're unfamiliar, MaxPax, one of the very best Protoss players from the European server, if not the very best. It's always a bit of a toss-up between him and Showtime. They play very different playstyles, though. And MaxPax, obviously, is far younger. I think he's like probably 10 years younger or so than Showtime. And we still don't really know who he is. He still hasn't gone to an offline event. He still hasn't streamed with a camera on. He barely ever gives any interviews with his voice and all that too. So MaxPax still a little bit of a mystery. Clem, of course, has been playing at this level for quite a while already. So as we've been making this video, Clem is considered to be the rank 7 in the world overall, and MaxPax the rank 13, according to Aligalek. Anyhow, pretty standard openers here from the both of them for the time being. Gonna be a quick reactor right here from Mr. Clem. Are we going to be seeing the big switcheroo? We do see some Hellion play quite a bit in this matchup. I feel like every single time, every single time I've seen Hellion play recently, it seems to be combined with a medevac. So I'm pretty sure that this SCV here, once the factory is done, and once we get it to 100 gas, pretty sure, yep, it's up to no good. It's going to be building up that starport right here. Is this something that MaxPax will scout out? Well, he's looking around, but he hasn't seen much. Going up to the top of that ramp might be nice, though. So, on 2,000 Atmos, there is this one little ledge right over here. And I've seen this come into the mix many times before. You'd really imagine that this pylon could probably cover it if you just... But then, obviously, you can't make the perfect wall off. Is that gonna spot it? Ugh. There's this nice little drop-off location where Hellions can just barely unload, right? So, the problem with Hellions is that, obviously... They're strong when you can surprise your opponent with them, right? So I think what Clem is planning to do is load up those 4 Hellions into a medivac and then drop them off inside of the natural of the opponent. This is also a common location, obviously. Oftentimes you see it like right over there, or, you know... There's a couple of locations where you can proxy the starport, but there's no denying that Clem is likely going to try and deal some damage with this, and he needs to sneak those Hellions into the bases somehow, some way. Okay, creating a little bit of chaos. A Reaper goes into the main base. Medevac is going to be out. Now, don't fly it straight... Oh. You were supposed to be hidden. You were supposed to be practically invisible. Anyways, MaxPax still sees it. I guess he was preoccupied. Oh, God. I guess he was preoccupied by that one Reaper in the main base. Yeah, that wasn't supposed to happen like that. I don't think that's the way that was supposed to happen. And Clem probably didn't expect it to be able to kill 17 workers in total. An absolutely tremendous advantage right now for the Frenchman. A little bit sloppy there for MaxPax. Here I was talking about sneaking, you know, anyways. He just flew it straight over a Nexus. Starport is going to be going back home. It is going to be Blink as a follow-up. So MaxPax should be able to grab the full map control here very soon. He's decided to now go for Clem, that is, for his additional barracks. And he's going to go, of course, into that +1 infantry weapons here, ASAP. There we go. It's one of those nice things that you can add into the mix. All of your biological units benefit from it, which is great. Especially Marines and all that. So exactly how much damage can MaxPax do? What do you do here to come back? He's chrono boosting charge? Don't think he really needs that, to be honest. Would have much rather liked to see him chrono boosting out the Nexus. Obviously, he knows this matchup far better than I do, but I'm not entirely sure what charge is going to do him. It's unlikely that Clem is going to be pushing here until Stimpack is done, so you should have quite a bit of time here to be able to just make a whole lot of probes. So chrono boosting out the workers and try and catch up in that worker department, definitely not a bad idea. You can see chrono boost is pretty good, right? When you get 3 of them going at once. Yeah, he's definitely going up as far as the worker count goes. Already 43 to only 45. That being said, of course, we do have the mules mining here for Clem, and it's going to give him that nice little economical advantage. Alright, 3rd command center is going to start up on the 3rd CC location. Boom, 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 boom. The 2 Hellions here, still chilling. Protoss is forced to respect that. There's a shark floating underneath. Or flying underneath. Do you think this flies or... I'm not exactly sure. Anyways, Stimpack not quite done yet. So MaxPax can quite easily poke and prod right here at those Marines. Nice little bit of micro there by him. Getting, what was that, like 3 or so Marines, I think, there? Not bad whatsoever. Clem, though, is planning on punishing his opponent very soon. So he's got +1 infantry weapons, combat shields, as well as Stimpack finishing up all around the same time. And he wants to create a chokehold right here on this base from MaxPax. MaxPax now heavily ahead when it comes to the worker count, which is fantastic. He hits a supply block, actually. Oh, that sucks. Okay, so he actually hits a pretty big supply block. He was supposed to warp in 6 charge slots here a little bit quicker. Okay, nice set of force fields. At the very least, trapping a couple of those Marines. The problem is, by the time that the next warp-in is available, MaxPax is going to have a lot of money in the bank. That supply block is uncharacteristic, not supposed to happen at this level. Battery overcharge, though, being used. Trying to bait those units, okay, into the Widow Mines, into the siege tank range. Clem's goal here is to try and kill the 3rd Nexus. If you can go 3 base Terran versus 2 base Protoss, that would be the dream. Okay, now this is a pretty good little move, though. MaxPax with some more reinforcements is going to be able to pick up that siege tank. Okay. Oh, army hotkey right there from Clem. Okay, that was not what you want to do. Maybe sneak it around. Oh, army hotkey right there from Clem, trying to get those reinforcements from the natural in. No armory here, though, from the Frenchman, so he's planning on just trying to kill his opponent with this push right here, right now. Zealots did sneak away from the main army. This is something that that Clem hasn't seen, but he sees the lack of Zealots, so he should know that something is not quite right there. Yep, rallying his reinforcements right now into the Natural Expo, and I think eventually... I say that. Okay, no, I thought actually the Immortal here is helping out a lot. The Immortal being here right now, battery overcharge once more available. I think eventually Terran probably has a bit too much. Usually that's what happens anyways. Yeah, Zealots were easily defended there. They're going to be forced to make their way back home. That's also the point, though, at which the Terran player can once again reinforce. And you can see that the supply count is really starting to favor Clem now. 4th Nexus was built. So at the very least, if the probes have to move, they're going to have another location for them to go to. 4th CC actually forced to be cancelled. Nice little move right there by MaxPax. Pretending that those Zealots went all the way back home, but they actually didn't. If MaxPax is given enough time to get Storm and all that done, he already has 3 High Templar. This is certainly still doable for him, but Clem doesn't want that to happen. Okay, he gets his Widow Mines in an absolutely beautiful position. Ugh, oh, that hurts. And now he's already starting to work right here on the natural expansion as well. That being said, I mean, that is a lot of... Okay, Zealots still connecting with that bio army. The problem is, those bio units right now, they do have +1. Storm is finishing up in a second. There it is. Nice Storm there by MaxPax, landing on top of that entire Terran army. Clem is going to be forced to retreat with his tail between his legs, but... Again, sometimes StarCraft is just a numbers game. We're now talking about a 50 supply lead right here for Clem. And if you look at the mini-map, it's all red. Right? He didn't manage to kill the 3rd base. So instead, he's now opting to go for the 4th instead. Nice storm once again by MaxPax. A lot of these bio units are extremely low, though. If MaxPax is given a little bit more time, he really needs to warp in. If he's given a... Oh, no. Woo, don't lose the prism. Okay. If he's given a little bit more time, I think there is a potential here that the Danish player will come back, but he knows it. Clem's army is way too big at this point, and he's forced to tap out of the game. Game number 2. Clem, alright, before giving his opponent the GLHF, decides to send out one of his space construction vehicles towards the other side. Alright. Little bit of shenanigans coming up right here on Glittering Ashes. MaxPax preparing for a Reaper to come from this angle. But judging by the way that the SCV is walking right now, or I guess they don't really walk. Are they flying units? You'd imagine that they walk on their little legs, right? Like, they have 2 legs. What's the point of their... Anyways. Yeah, why do they... Well, I do know why they fly, actually. You want to know the reason why all the workers in StarCraft fly? Apparently, this is a remnant from the very early days of StarCraft 1. So, apparently, Blizzard at some point was published in a magazine. This is like... probably 96, 97, maybe 95, so a very long time ago. But apparently back then, when they designed the original StarCraft, they had like the maps, and then they had the minerals. So the minerals originally were like out in space. So workers would have to like, basically this would be like, I guess like a mining operation or something. They would have to go out of the map and then gather the resources and then bring them back to the main structure. And then at some point they realized, wait a second, worker harassment is probably a good mechanic to have, you know. I mean, I guess they didn't really think about esports all too much at that point because that wasn't even a thing. But anyways, they decided for some reason to bring the minerals onto the map instead, but apparently they never changed back the way that SCVs and probes and drones work. Although it would make sense when you think about it, for those like SCVs to have 2 legs and like walk back and forth, kind of like a Goliath maybe? That'd be cool. Anyways, MaxPax gets into his opponent main base and he scouts very little. He's gonna see the factory here in a little bit. What he did see already as well while I was blabbering about unrelated stuff is a bunker building right here. Right between the Nexus and then the mineral line. Probe is gonna try and save the SCV. SCV will now be able to finish up working on that bunker. Clem's Reaper control obviously is absolutely top notch. So he's gonna be able to finish that one up. This will obviously never kill the Nexus, but it's one of those things where it's just very, very annoying, right? So usually what MaxPax seems to do in these sort of scenarios, yeah, is delay the warp gate research, get a couple of gateway units out, and then go for the Stargate. So he'll go for the Stargate here. The earliest Stargate units aren't going to be out until probably like 20 seconds later than what we normally see. Shield battery, though, is going to finish up here for MaxPax in a little bit. He's going to go for a second Stalker, too. That one's being chrono boosted. And once all of that is done, he should be able to break through that bunker using the shield battery. Oh, he really wanted to snipe the SCV. SCV, though, still stays alive with just a tiny little bit of health. Okay, it wasn't going to be able to escape. Nice little bit of body blocking over here, too. Gotta be careful, though. If you lose the Zealot here, you can actually run into an issue. There's the second Stalker coming up. And now, slowly but surely, battery overcharge, together with those Stalker shots, should be able to get rid of that bunker. Nicely done. Probe is still in the main base, by the way, being annoying, scouting out exactly what's happening. Alright, so, the Stargate is being, well, it's done right now, so MaxPax is busy being producing? Nice. He's busy producing those Phoenixes right now. Could go for an Oracle as well if he wanted to. That probe here, man, it's just been set on a patrol command for a while. SCVs have chased it, Widowmines have burrowed in front of it. It's like, excuse me, mate, can you please step aside? It's still just scouting everything, which is kind of funny. Eventually, though, Jimmy has been tasked over here. Oh, no, never mind. The Reapers instead have been tasked with clearing out that pest, but everything that the Terran player wanted to go for right now is well known for our Protoss. So what exactly is MaxPax going to do? Well, he's going to start chrono boosting out. Oh, he actually finds the medevac with the Widowmines in it. He's going to continue chrono boosting out those Phoenixes. This is actually a bit of an issue right now for Clem, though. So his early game pressure got shut down pretty hard. Now his medevac also got spotted, plus he lost one of the Reapers. This essentially means that he's not going to be able to do any follow-up aggression here for the time being. And I don't really expect him to go for much of a move out. They decided to bring the medevac with the 2 leftover Widow Mines all the way back home. So, yeah, not really a whole lot for him going well. Third Nexus is going to come out uncontested here for MaxPax. Reaper is going to scout it, so at least Clem has that going for himself, but there's really not much he can do about it. Okay. Obviously, when you go for the Stargate opener, you do delay the Twilight Council and the Forge. Third Nexus was also... Actually, no, I think that was appropriately timed. Either way, that tech transition is going to be a little bit later. MaxPax usually a very big fan of playing those Stalker-based openers, but if you go this heavy into the Phoenixes, probably should be charged. Anyways, +1/+1 coming up. Oh, actually, no. That's... Combat Shields is not the +1/+1 look. It's just going to be the +1 infantry weapons, together with the Stim Pack, together with that Combat Shields. Production not that big here just yet for Clem, but soon he's going to be able to explode when all of these reactors finish up. Building 3 of those all at once, it's going to make, making an actual army significantly easier. But for the time being, MaxPax can do whatever he likes. Alright. Phoenixes are going to head on over in that direction and figure out who gunned at their friend. Yeah, Phoenix is one of the few Protoss units that can actually... that can actually survive one of those Widow Mine hits. Okay. Even without Stimpack, though, these Marines are still going to be enough to, at the very least, push this all away. But this is a little bit of a shaky situation. So it is indeed going to be charged together with the +1 ground weapons. Terran's going to have to go for some sort of damage here very soon. 3rd CC once again starts up at the 3rd CC location. But this is a very different scenario than what we saw in the previous one, right? So you can either go for like a Colossus follow-up, or I guess like a Zealot charge sort of follow-up, right? So MaxPax once again hits the supply block. Come on, MaxPax, this is the 2nd time in 2 games where at the exact same point, right as Terran gets across the map, you hit a supply block. Anyways, normally you're warping a bunch of Zealots here. This should never work. If this works right here for Clem probably also wondering, huh? What? Alright, so one nice thing you can do with the Phoenixes is fly them after dragging the Widow Mine hit over the Terran army. Just like that. And then, well, the Widow Mines do friendly fire. Okay. MaxPax even pretending that he's a... by the way, there's a lot of counter-attack damage being done as well. MaxPax pretending right there that he was a Zerg player right there with the way that he dealt with those Widow memes. Anyways, the Widow memes not getting that much work done. Dealing more damage there to the Terran than anything else. Okay. So what exactly do you do here if you're Clem, right? So his best bet is probably to try and play more defensively. The problem is that Protoss is already starting to outgrow him. So he's behind economically. He's behind in upgrades. He's behind in army. Not in a gigantic way, but it's all pretty significant. So if you can get like a good Widow Mine hit in on the mineral line, that would be fantastic. But obviously those Phoenixes are still out. If you could, I don't know, do like a Marine drop, that would be awesome too. You can kind of sit behind your siege tanks if you really want to, but obviously he's going for a Widow Mine based approach this game, so not really going to happen. Either way, he's up with his back against the wall. The supply count can be a little bit deceiving in these sorts of moments too. Well, I just talked about it. Let me back off for just a second. Apparently, even though... Dude, that medevac flew over half of the Protoss infrastructure. And MaxPax didn't respond. I guess he was busy looking at other things. MaxPax usually doesn't play a lot of Phoenix Zealot. So maybe he's not as comfortable playing this style as like, I don't know, like a Neeb, for example, or some of the Koreans. Anyways, losing 8 probes is a beginning. Storm at this point is done, though. They're even throwing some water balloons right there. Zealots in the meantime, once more, trying to be annoying. I'm assuming the Widow Mines in the main base did get cleared out. That's good. Okay, now we're gonna go into Archons as well. You know what? I actually like... That's the way that Serral usually splits against Widow Mines. Not some... Oh, no, 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 no! Clem going for a desperation fly, and he accidentally now runs into all of those phoenixes. Well, that's a disaster and a half. Those units are not going to be able to go home very easily whatsoever. Boost is no longer available because he boosted into those phoenixes as well. Gigantic error right there from Clem, but he had to try something. And apparently his desperation move didn't quite work out here. Alright, at this point, I think it might be time for MaxPax just to set his rally point towards the other side of the map. Rip off the band-aid. It's not really the point at the game or in the game yet where Terran can just go ahead and leave, right? But I do think there's pretty much no way that... I mean, unless he can get some fantastic Widowmine hits, but I don't think... Oh my god, even a Ghost right now getting killed too. Ah, there's a storm going on. Yeah, I don't think there's much of a way to come back here. GG is cold, and that means we're going to game number 3. Okay. Our final game in this series is gonna take place on Hardwire. No cheeky SCVs moving out this time around. Clem's still rocking the little polar bear right there on the command center. Still not entirely sure why. I also wonder who the other clan members of Team Mlem are, right? Because he seems to be in a clan of his own. Maybe there are other people though in the clan. Are there other Mlem clan members? Oh god, that's tricky. Clan Mlem members. Oh god, no, don't say that 3 times fast. Don't do it. No, don't, stop it. Anyways. MaxPax playing a pretty clean game there though. Yeah, like I said, he usually doesn't play that much, at least I haven't, maybe he has, I just haven't seen him play it all too much, but usually I don't see him playing Phoenix Zealot, but he seemed to be perfectly capable of doing that. Honestly, MaxPax is really becoming a properly well-rounded Protoss. Like, for a long time, and I feel like a lot of people still kind of have that stigma, right, where they saw him cheese back in the day, so he played very aggressive strategies. They saw him cheese back then and like, okay, he's still, but he doesn't really do that anymore. Like, obviously, balance patches haven't really helped, you know, those sort of openers either. So he used to do a lot of shenanigans on the other side of the map, but now with the shield battery spawning with less energy and Void Rays taking longer to produce and all that, he took a little bit of time to adjust to the Void Ray change, but yeah, he's done a very good job. Okay, so hold up. MaxPax actually did not know that there was an NG Bay building in the natural. So now it's a very awkward scenario. I hate being in this spot. So he's decided to go for the 3rd Nexus instead. So the Natural Expo was what the plan was, but he decided to now go for the 3rd base instead because he didn't notice. He didn't scout for his low ground. Meaning that he's going to be up with his back against the wall if Terran decides to be aggressive. Obviously, with Zerg, it's already quite annoying to be forced to take your 3rd rather than your natural, but Protoss units are so much slower that it's hard to get them in the right place at the right time. So what do we do here, MaxPax? Are we going to go Stargate? Are we going to go Twilight Council? I think those are probably the best options. Blink being nicer a little bit later on, but it also takes longer to produce. Yeah, okay, Stargate makes a lot of sense. So Stargate, I guess Stargate is probably going to keep you safer initially, but Blink is going to be nicer eventually. Does that make any sense? Anyways, I'm pretty sure we could see some Phoenix play once again. He could once more go into Oracles too if he wants to. Once more, as in like that was also an option in the previous game. But this is already good. If you can ever force this as a Terran player, highly recommend it. Especially against your average ladder hero. No! Clem! That's bad luck, dude. I'm not a very superstitious person, but that's bad luck. You can't just kill the Roomba. Anyway. What was I saying? See, I've completely lost my train of thought. Oh, right. If you're a ladder hero, highly recommend going for engineering bay blocks and all of those annoying little moves. Just because it throws the opponents off. Like, MaxPax should know how to respond to these kind of situations. So he decides to go Phoenixes. But your average run-of-the-mill ladder hero, probably up to like high masters, has one build that they execute most of the time. And if you throw them off of that build, it's gonna be very tricky. Yeah. Anyhow. Clem decides to be a little bit aggressive right now with the Marines and the Cyclone. There's already a shield battery over here. Alright. Gets the lock-on. This is actually going to be a pretty aggressive little play, it looks like, because he's also going... Yeah, he's just put all of his rally points, everything, towards the other side of the map. There's going to be a second Cyclone here very soon as well. This is one of those moves where Clem wants to get aggressive. right? But the question is, when do you move in? Nice dancing so far, actually, by MaxPax. So MaxPax wants to fight, but he also doesn't want to fight without the shield battery, right? And Clem wants to go for the lock-on. Oh, nice moves once again. Loses the lock-on right away. He wants to go for the lock-on on those units and try to, like, soak as much energy out of the shield batteries as possible. Keep in mind, battery overcharge is an option right here. Takes 50 energy. He can do it right now because he's got, well, 0 energy remaining here on the battery. But Clem needs to decide when he wants to go in. Second shield battery is coming up. Okay, decides to lock on to that. MaxPax threatening to move forward here. The liftoffs of those Phoenixes. I mean, I wonder... Clem, you need to get something done, man. I think if you're going to do this, you're either going to commit or you're going to back off at a certain point. If you dance here for too long... Okay, even a Robo Bay already coming up for MaxPax. Apparently laughing in the face of danger. Anyways, at some point, half this army from the Terran here can be picked up. That's a lot of Phoenixes up in the air right now. Okay, there's the battery. Overcharge being used, but not committing just yet. Phoenix is going. Okay. To the bottom, trying to see if they can pick up any reinforcements that might be joining in. Immortal is coming up, though, for MaxPax, and eventually he's going to go up to Disruptors if he's given enough time, or even a Colossus. That would be amazing. What I'm trying to say is that Clem, he should probably commit. Or not. Yeah, okay. Going home makes a lot of sense. No. Dude, okay, it's gonna be a Colossus. Figured a Disruptor here would be super nice. But I guess Stimpec is gonna be done soon. Dude, I'm starting to worry here. Like, there's so many Phoenixes. We're 6 Phoenixes in. Siege Tank can be picked up. Cyclones can be picked up. At that point, what's left over? Well, I thought a Colossus would be too tricky to get out, but he's gonna get it just fine. I don't like this move anymore. I liked it earlier. I'd like to be proven wrong, but I feel like he's overstaying his welcome in the middle of the map. Okay, there's the battery overcharge once more. This is a moment, apparently, where the Phoenixes decide to get a little bit aggressive, too. Decide to lift up the Cyclones as well as the Siege Tank. Now the Colossus is joining in the fray. Like, the problem is when you're dancing out there, right? What do you achieve? What do you achieve here? Maybe if the Protoss player is weaker and is scared of going for the Robo-Bay transition and doesn't really know what to do in those scenarios, maybe you can get yourself an advantage, but it was starting to feel uncomfortable for about a minute and a half there before anything bad truly happened. Okay, well, luckily for that Siege Tank, that one managed to stay alive. But MaxPax right now finds himself in a really good spot, starts up this third Nexus in the natural, and he's gonna go into the Robo Bay. Okay, third command center has started up in the meantime too. Safely in the natural expo. It's gonna be a Siege Tank base play this time around here from Mr. Clem. So that's always nice. Much more defensive. But obviously also... Yeah, once more, giving your opponent a ton of time to do whatever they like. I don't know, I don't like being in a spot where Protoss can do whatever they like. It's dangerous. He's gonna be able to go for a 4th Nexus even if he wants to. Like, he could totally go for a 4th Nexus already if he really wanted to. Maybe that would be a bit greedy. But what exactly is Terran gonna do about it? He decides to prioritize the upgrades and going into the Twilight Council and all that. I get it, but like, there's not a whole lot that the Terran could do. Oh. Like, the Phoenixes are keeping the Terran player super pinned back. Oh. Clem, army hotkeying. Stimming too many Marines and also bringing the Siege Tanks to the mix. Not ideal. At this point, the Colossus have their extended thermal lens, meaning that they get additional range. That being said, the Siege Tanks are in good spots right now. Is there enough, though? Ooh. Okay, very nice hits on those Colossi. If those Siege Tanks wouldn't have been sieged and Clem was actually still moving them around like they were bio units, I think he actually could have just lost the game right here, right now. Instead, though, the Phoenixes didn't get those beautiful lift-ups, and Clem is going to be able to sit back. Okay. This is the gateway explosion. 6 additional gateways coming up. Charge is coming up. Probes are oversaturating the main base, though. MaxPax coming in with a prism. The most commonly attacked location on this map in TVP. Okay. So there's the 4th Nexus. We may very well have ourselves a little bit of late game on our hands. I actually don't mind what Clem is doing here, though, because I feel like historically Clem has been much better in the late game than Mr. MaxPax. At least every time I've seen him play a late game, I feel like Clem has always won. Yeah, so it makes sense. If he can force the game to go that distance, that would be fantastic for him. He doesn't care too much about his opponent's 4th base. He's just going to go into his own 4th command center. He's going to go into the Ghost Academy, and he's just going to keep on pumping out a very strong death ball of an army. Okay, now we do have to switch on over towards a reactor. Alright. Very classic looking Protoss army over here, marching towards the other side of the map. There is a prism, only one on the left side of the map, but other than that, no way to reinforce this proper army here. So maybe this is him just trying to create some distraction to try and get that prism into the main base. Already though, okay, there's Marines there as well as 2 missile turrets rather, so should be defended. I think the Observer just got sniped over here. Okay, Fort CC finally done. Observer coming forward, scouting out the positioning right there. Okay, it sees the command center flying on over in this direction. Prism moving in right now. Back off, back off, back off. Okay, nicely done. Super important to not lose that prism. Clemdo is maxed out now. Without the siege tanks, there's not a whole lot he can do. Wants to start up the planetary real bad. Now disruptors are being added into the mix. Okay. So when Terran plays a passive army like this, yeah, going into the Dark Shrine makes sense. Just so you can, like, try and do some backstabbing. But eventually maybe going into Stargates with Tempest and all that is also an option. Although you might want to have 10 gases before he considers doing that. Clemdo, doing that classical Terran thing that we've seen so many times over the last half year, where they just kind of sit there, defend, 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 and then eventually overwhelm the opponent. Okay, he was too busy microing over here. Nice spread right here on the siege tanks. Making it near impossible for the Protoss player to move in. I always, on this map, I always see people defending the main base because I always see prisms heading on over in that direction. I mean, it makes sense because it's the closest buy location for the prism to fly to. But I feel like... Okay, there is a missile turret over there and also one right over there. Yeah, okay, maybe. Anyways, I feel like maybe the other side makes a bit more sense. Because I never feel like the prism in the main base is working out very well at this level. Okay, 2 command centers coming up. Clem slowly building up his ultimate economy. Couple of Vikings in the mix as well. Oh, big hit. Very big hit. 10 kills right there on that disruptor. Forcing the Terran not to go back, apparently. Okay. Yeah, he's gonna add on more ghosts, though. So, trading some of that marine supply into ghosts, probably not a bad idea. Anyhow, this base obviously is a very... Not the Roomba. This base. No, don't kill the Roomba. This base over here is usually pretty easy to acquire. Base in the top left now already spotted. Base on the right side also spotted. He's scanning for a potential Stargate transition, but it's not coming up. Not yet, anyways. Marine over there scouting out everything. Okay, so at this point, yeah, everything that Protoss has got going for himself is known by the Terran. Terran knows what he's going up against. Not a lot of siege tanks over here, as in none. So actually, yeah, this is a pretty nice little engagement here for MaxPax. Probably have the Zealots over there continuously working on that. Okay, decides to now use the Zealots once again. Did he have to actually overstay his welcome? Concave here heavily in favor of the Frenchman. No siege tanks in these fights needed. Okay, that Disruptor getting some work in. Both players end up losing a lot of stuff. Zealots, though, With the reinforcement coming in at the same time. Okay, the Colossi also in some trouble, but the Vikings do decide to back off there eventually. Mostly just a trade, it seems. Maybe a slight advantage in that fight, though, for MaxPax, just because those Zealots came in clutch there at the end. All the Phoenixes are gone. Anyhow, still liking the economical spot here for MaxPax a little bit better. Going up to 85 workers. Well, he had 85 just a second ago. Unless I can't look or read. Anyways. Eventually, this base is created. Okay, it almost created a bit of a chokehold in that. Colossus did go down there. Vikings right now not as useful anymore because the follow-up units from the Robo facility are going to be primarily disruptors. MaxPax has got a ton of eco. He really needs to send his probes around, I think, though. Yeah, okay. So there is some oversaturation going on. Looks like he just balanced that out. That's important. Siege tanks getting into a better spot here. Keep in mind, though. Ooh. I was gonna say, he still has mining going on right here on the right side, but while we were dancing on the left, MaxPax decides to move in on the right. A move we haven't seen too much lately because, of course, with the new patch... Alright, there you go. With the new patch, the Dark Templar have a short little break before they can actually slice up the planetary fortress, but he does manage to pull that off easy peasy. The Dark Templar did take some damage. One or two more died than normally would have in that scenario, but MaxPax kills another base. Slowly, methodically moving forward. Okay. The siege tanks, though, really need to siege up. Clem is he all army hotkeying? I think he might just be all army hotkeying. Okay, finally the siege tanks do get in right now, but they immediately get sniped. I think he might actually just be all army hotkeying here. Yeah, seeing those siege tanks wander around like that is definitely not ideal. Dark Templar once again trying to be annoying, getting a little bit of damage in, sniping whatever they can. MaxPax dominating the battle so far, very impressive. Still though, the macro here from Clem is impeccable. MaxPax has got a gajillion resources in the bank. Not spending his money. I think they call this in the Protoss community pulling a zest. Where you have so much money and you can do whatever you like, but for some reason, maxing out seems to be the tricky part. Maxi-paxying out? Okay, sorry, I'll stop. Yeah, can you please just... Come on, MaxPax, just spend the money. Come on, MaxPax. Hey, there's 15 zealots. It's a lot of gateways. That's all of the gateways. I don't think it's a bad idea to add on some Stargates at this point too and go into like Tempest or even carrier production if you really want it. Those medevacs are really allowing Clem to get into very nice spots. Either way, here he comes once more. He's now maxed out because he warped in another dozen or so Dark Templar. I don't know where they are. Okay, there they are on the right side of the map. Look at the siege tanks. Like, why are the siege tanks walking? They need to be sieged up. I think he's actually all army hacking. Ugh, uncharacteristic mistakes right there from Mr. Clem. MaxPax getting way better fights than he should have. Alright, this is also the moment though, now that the Terran army is finally engaged at the front, for the Dark Templar to once again go into the base. Yeah, MaxPax wondering why these fights are probably going a little bit better as well than they normally are. He's mining wherever he likes. Getting another Nexus going over there. Getting a good amount of eco. 4 Liberators coming up at once. So once there's enough Liberators out, Terran can usually start holding these sort of battles much easier. But obviously the entire plan right here from MaxPax is to never allow the Terran player to get to that turtley state again. He was already there earlier in this game. Took a while to get up the economy to start picking all of that apart. So yeah, either you transition towards Tempest or I guess you just keep hitting your opponent in the face. Honestly, Clem's army still looks... Oh, it still looked huge. Didn't mean for the past tense to happen there. But I guess, you know, it did. Yeah, so every time MaxPax remembers that he has units to warp in with, he just, maxes out. And even though Clem is refusing to tap out of this game, he's been now losing for the better part of 8 minutes, I would say. There's additional zealots coming up. We have a couple of or what are they called? Photon cannons, rather, coming up as well. Oh, big disruptor flank. And actually, that was an overextension right there from MaxPax. Clem sniping all of those. Nicely done. Okay. Maybe a little bit overly aggressive. He wanted to come in with the units from the side. Here go the Dark Templar once more, though. They're just... Hello. Yeah, just... Ah, there you go. Blinking past all of the circles there from those Liberators. 19 additional SCVs have gone down over the last couple of seconds, and... Even though this choke point here is not that good, there's really no reason for Max to fight over here. He has all of the eco in the world, and he knows that Terran is pretty much broke. Maybe he doesn't realize that this base is not mining. No, he probably does. He just sent Zealots and Dark Templar through that choke point like 7 times. Now it's an orbital commando at this center base. So the SCV count is gonna look worse. MaxPax is already he's already killed close to 100. Oh, there you go. He's killed more than 100 of his opponent's SCVs. Extreme harassment here from MaxPax. Clem's army still looking pretty strong. I honestly am impressed that Clem managed to get to this position in the first place, because it seemed like this game was over to me a couple of minutes ago. Don't get me wrong, I think he's still super dead. But... Oh, God. Okay, there you go. That's the nail in the coffin. That has to be the nail in the coffin. There you go. Jeez. Even though it seemed like Clem was on the cusp of starting up a comeback, MaxPax's economy was far too big for far too long, and he does end up winning 2-1 over the Frenchman.